This is exactly how I got rich in New Zealand, and it wasn't from investing in property, shares, crypto trades, any of that. Now, when I was younger, I was always looking at that stuff, and I do think that a lot of people learn incorrectly too that the way to get wealthy and rich in this country is property. And really, that's all good and well once you have money and once you can get on the ladder or build enough equity to get a rental and do all the stuff that people talk about. It could even be, put your money into the stock market and it goes up over time and it'll pay you a few dividends and whatnot. I get that, and that's epic once you have money, but it wasn't what I learned was going to help me get towards the goals that I had, jeepers creepers, and actually build some riches. But let's just go back and think for our parents' generation and for people who have done that, property, shares and whatnot. Let's just say, property to start with, they invest in property or even buy a family home, and because we create so much debt, the value of that property on paper increases. And so people have learnt you just need the best time to buy a property was yesterday, and the second best time is today, and all this bullshit, safe as houses, property doubles every 10 years and stuff. It's like ingrained in people, and it's the way to get wealthy, it's the way to get rich in this country. But what's actually happening is they're protecting their purchasing power via storing money in property. And a lot of people don't even understand that. They think, that they've timed it perfectly. But just take a property that goes up in value over 10 years and doubles, let's say, but nothing has changed. They haven't added any value to it, they haven't improved it, they've just maintained it, paid the rates on it, etc., paid the interest, cleared some debt, built up some equity, that's it. How has that doubled in price? How did we, it's demand and supply, all this stuff. Okay, cool, if you believe that's cool, that's definitely a part of it, but how the hell, so debt creation and things becoming worth more are often people trying to hedge against inflation and money becoming worth less. So that's why so many people believe, and we've got recency bias for decades of data of, interest rates slowly coming down and house prices slowly going up over that time. People are like, that's how you get rich and that's how you get wealthy. So there's that camp. And then there's the, find that company that's going to double or whatever and do it faster. And so then we've got the, let's say I got given 50 grand and I put it into this stock because someone told me that's the stock to be a part of. And, it doubled in 3 years. So don't worry about your property shit. I've doubled my 50 grand in 3 years. Epic. That's how you get rich. That's how you get wealthy. But what have you learned in that 3 years? And what have you done to create that? You've made a decision here, and then do you sell here? And do you sell that property when that's doubled as well and then buy back into the market at the same time? Anyway, are these people in property and are these people investing, are they actually becoming valuable, building value, getting richer themselves? Or are other people doing it? Or is in the property space, so the business owners and the people working in it, they're doing that. And then the market's rewarding them by saying, yeah, we're going to keep bidding up the price of your stocks. Property, same thing. What's actually happening if they're just sitting and then just living their life, but then their property doubles? So when I started to understand this, I'm like, well, how the fuck then do you actually make cash, get rich, get wealthy, and do it yourself? And then you have the camp of invest into yourself. I'm like, oh man, I don't even think a lot of Kiwis believe that. It's some woo-woo, personal development, schemey, scammy, pyramid schemey bullshit, right? But what I unpacked and what I started to see is a couple of things that really, really helped me. So one was serve people. And then people are like, that's some real Christian shit, that's some real religious stuff. And then the other was add value. And so I'm looking at these things and watching people do it, and I'm hearing people say, the more that you serve people, then eventually they serve you, the world serves you, and you'll make more money. And then there's the add value to people's lives, and then people will buy from you. So I kind of put those together, and in a business, an accounting business, which was basically serving people here's your accounting system, your year-end accounting, and we'll help you throughout the year and stuff. I'm serving them, and they're paying for that. Great, because I'm adding value too. And then I'm like, I need to speed this shit up. So I thought, well then, how do we, with these people we're serving, how do we add value as well to then, grow this snowball faster? And then I'm like, oh, well, they're trying to achieve things. How can I help them achieve it faster? And if I can help them achieve their goals faster, I'm going to add value and they're going to pay me money. So I'm constantly looking for people trying to figure out what are they trying to achieve. And when I started approaching the world like that and dealing with people, individuals, and business owners and big businesses and clubs and different things and organizations, I'd be like, hey guys, like, what are you trying to achieve here? And if I could help them do it, I'm like, epic. There's a play in here for me. I can add value to them. They're winning, and then I'll be winning. And then, boom, we're combining the two, and then I'm helping them serve their people as well. And then I'm adding value. They can do more of it, and it can happen faster. And then transactions start to happen. So then you start getting paid, right? And then you're like, okay, look, I've met all my needs, I can pay my expenses and whatnot, and I've got leftover cash. But I'd also argue as soon as you start making money, whatever it is, like slowly start building the habit of saving and investing, and then that will help you out longer term. But I went back to broke, so I was at zero again, and then I started doing this. And then once I started having money coming in, I built that habit of saving and investing. But that's when I'm like, the property thing makes a bit more sense now. The share thing makes a bit more sense now. So I'm deploying my a percentage of my income over two different vehicles. Stocks, we're talking cryptos, we're talking property investments. I don't have any property, but investing into companies that own property. Then I'm like, okay, now I'm exposed to it, to this thing that goes up every 10 years. Apparently, to funds that are investing money to different businesses. And then I'm starting to look, I'm like, why don't I invest my money into businesses that are trying to help serve people and add value to people's lives? I'm like, wow, okay, this is pretty epic. Now we're like, I've got my snowball going, and then they're getting their snowballs going. So I'm like earning over here and then giving it over there, and then and then the whole thing just starts rolling. And in quite a short amount of time, let's say like 2 or 3 years, you start to really see it. You're like, oh, holy shit, this is it. Like, this is how you do it. But this is not what you get taught, because we get taught education, good job, steady income. Then just save a bit over time, or pay your mortgage down. And like, see if you can speed it up a little bit. But 20, 30 years, you think, baby, you buy that property, you pay that mortgage over 30 years, but it's gone up. It doubles in the first 10 years, then again. But so did all the other properties. And what happened to you? What did you do in that 30 years? So that's where I think that investing yourself piece comes into it. What are you going to do to get this snowball going? What's going to be your vehicle to serve people and add value to people's life? And a good example that I was reminded of today was I saw a business, and they were looking for a specific staff member, and they said, if you can help us find them, we'll give you $3,000. Holy shit. Imagine if you knew that person and you saw that post, because your brain's looking for those opportunities, and you're like, my mate is that person. Yo, bro, there's this job advert. Oh, you should go check it out. They get the job, $3,000 for you. When have you made $3,000 in a phone call before? Probably haven't. But it shows you it is possible, because what you're doing is you're adding value to that organization's life and world where they need that person and they can't find them. They're like, please help us bridge this gap. And you do that and they give you $3,000. But when you went to school, when you went to university, when you got into the financial system in New Zealand, it's like, get a good job and then slowly increase your income and work up the ladder. And it's just this laddery bullshit. Work up the corporate ladder, work up the property ladder. That ain't how you make good coin. You make good coin by adding value to people's life. And there'll be people that, will be lost at this stage, like, oh, all good for you to say. I had to go through this journey too. It was a fucking smack in the face when I figured it out. Like, holy shit. I went through so many jobs and I get paid more per hour. I'm like, man, I am flying. Like, I am going to crush it in this country. And I'm like, oh, well, how the hell did they get $3,000 for a phone call? How does that work? How did I not learn that? And now we see it, hey, do you have a unit out the back of your house? You can put that on Airbnb. Or maybe you're going to be away for a long weekend. Why don't you rent that out? All of a sudden, $2,000 for a weekend. When have you ever made $2,000 in 2 days yourself by, doing an hourly rate? But you can learn adding value in your life. It's never been easier because we have the internet and we have education, and people are so much more valuable than they realize, but they've been taught to sell it per hour. And still, people ask me like, oh bro, what's your hourly rate? I'm like, I don't really have an hourly rate. I look at, what are you trying to solve? Can we fix it? Here's the price to do that. And recently, some people came to me and they don't understand their financials and they wanted me to do a deep dive into all the stuff. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be $2,500 plus GST, and here's the outcomes and here's the things they're going to solve. Crickets, no reply. No reply. But I'm used to this because they're like, whoa, 2.5K, it's 2.5 hours. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. You know, I've got to do pre-work, I've got to do post-work, and I've got to use all my experience to help them figure out how you're actually going to solve this. So I know that if they sit down with me, I'll charge them 2.5K, but I will help them make way more than that over time. But they're looking at it going, 2.5 grand to sit down with this dude for 2.5 hours. I do keynote presentations for 5 grand. Someone pays me 5 grand for an hour to come and speak. It ain't for the hour, it's for the knowledge, the experience, and what I can bring to that hour. And, you know, I lose my day as well. Fly here, got to fly back. There's opportunity cost of what I could be doing in that time. I could probably do 2 of those financial sessions, you know, back to back and not have to travel anywhere, make people come to me. There's 5 grand as well. So you've got to be careful, you know, what you think your limitations are based on what you've learned. And you've got to start looking at other people and go, like, how are they doing it? You know, I had a look at some speakers, I'm like, man, 10 grand to get that person to come and speak. How are they doing that? I saw one, let's just say an ex-politician of New Zealand, pretty successful politician, 100,000 US for a presentation. I'm like, holy shit, man, I am thinking small. I am thinking small still. And I think I'm thinking big, and I ain't thinking big. But we're not encouraged to think big and to think about adding value. We're taught to think about hourly rates and what can you make, and oh great, what about a bit of overtime, time and a half and stuff. Man, solve problems for people, serve people, add value to their lives, and the money starts coming, and then you deploy that money into an asset that is going to beat inflation, and that goes up too. Most people just learn this bit, and they think that they're getting rich and wealthy because their shares are going up and their property's going up. But you are your greatest asset that you'll ever have, and you're in control of that. And realistically, you shouldn't take 10 years to doubling your value. You know, it doesn't take that long. You could be growing way faster than that, but you've got to invest into yourself, invest into the right education. And why I put this TV behind me is because this is what fucks most people up, is that they get screens like this, and this is, oh, I come home, right, okay, that's what I'm going to do, escape. I'm going to escape. When you're escaping, whether you're scrolling on ticking and talking and gramming and ramming and all sorts of shit, you should be like, oh, why am I trying to escape? You know, what am I doing? Why am I spending so much of this? You know, people want to talk about good debt, bad debt, like, okay, yeah, if you put that on consumer finance, that's bad debt. No, bro, that's bad debt because you just introduced something that's going to take hours of your year from you when you're watching bullshit. So swap out the bullshit that is bad debt and start putting in good debt, things that are actually going to help you, you know, earn more, think cleaner, eat better, you know, all the things that are actually good for you rather than this mindless junk and this shit that we put into our brains. So you've got to be real careful what you're putting in here, here, and here. But most people aren't doing that. But that's also one of the reasons you can get further ahead in this country faster than you realize, is because most people are living in there or in their screen and they're just oblivious to what's actually possible in this world and in this country. And you have to think, look over my shoulder, all of that stuff that's built, even that TV, that was someone's idea to get that into your household, you know? And everything around you was once someone's idea. And go and have a look at just everything around you right now in a 360 and go, man, I decided to buy that. I mean, a lot of this shit's fully furnished, so I didn't. But, you know, a lot of the things in your environment, you put them there. Why did you put them there? Have a think about that. Who convinced you that that was a good idea to put that there? So if you're in control of that, then start thinking about what other good things you could put into your environment. I hope that that gets you thinking. That has certainly been, in less than 15 minutes, what has made me rich and wealthy, whatever term you want to use, and be able to earn more to then be able to take some cash and deploy it into some of those assets that, yes, are naturally going to go up over time. But, you know, I used to think that was impressive. Now I'm like, oh, okay, property doubles every 10 years. Is that all? Like, that should fucking scare people. If that's the run rate, you know, then you kind of need to be thinking bigger than that already anyway, when your assets, your cash is losing value and halving every 10 years. If you're not trying to beat that, if that's what anyone in New Zealand can do just by being involved in property, shit, you need to be thinking way bigger than that and like, okay, well, if anyone can do that by getting into property, then I probably need to be, you know, thinking a little bit bigger and a little bit outside the box than those people. But they'll be blinded to that and they will have that confirmation bias of like, yeah, epic, I've done this. The market done that. Even the stock's going up. You know, you got to drop your ego with some of the stuff and bring it back to what value am I going to add to the world and what's in my control and how am I going to prove that and how am I going to do more of it. Good luck. Love to hear what your thoughts on this one are. Drop something in the comments. Cheers.